Hi everyone, and welcome to our first of two videos about syntagmatic choices. You'll remember from our introductory video about semiotic concepts that syntagmatic choices are how individual words and images are put together, and the meaning effects that has. In this first video, we'll think about this in relation to spatial relations, which is where words and images are in space in relation to each other. So how does where things are in space have anything to do with what they mean? Consider the following pairs of words. Do you notice a pattern in their meanings? In all cases, you'd probably rather be in the situation suggested by the first word than by the second word, wouldn't you? Above and below suggests an evaluative list, with better things or winners above worse things or losers. Similar ideas apply to in front and behind. When we think about reaching a goal or destination or about relationships, you'd rather be close than distant, wouldn't you? And while you might well prefer being outdoors than indoors, when you think about in and out metaphorically, in relation to groups or fashions, for example, you'd probably rather be in than out. Either way, the point to take from all of this is that spatial relations are evaluative. So where you place something in an advertising image, or the way you use the words associated with those positions, matters and is likely to create positive or negative connotations. We'll talk about connotations in detail in next week's videos. Lakoff and Johnson, here they are, called these types of words orientational metaphors. They wrote about orientational metaphors in language. For example, for years Toyota had a tagline, "The car in front's a Toyota." Great use of layered metaphorical meaning, isn't it? You can picture the car physically in front due to its speed and its acceleration, and metaphorically in front due to its style and technical spec and so on. Orientational metaphors apply just as easily to images, depending where you place different things in relation to each other. You might be thinking, wait a wee minute, I thought we were talking about syntagmatic choices this week, not connotations or metaphor. And you're right, kind of. We'll talk in detail about both connotations and metaphor in future weeks, but it's worth noting that the fact that they're coming up in relation to a different concept reminds us that there are links between all the concepts we'll consider. Bear that in mind as we progress through the module and try to make intelligent links between concepts where you can. Kress and Van Leuven, here they are, discussed spatial relations in newspaper layout, but their approach is also relevant to advertising, so we'll explore it here. They found that we foreground what is in the centre, thus affording it more status, and what is on the margin less status. They found that we read material on the left as given and material on the right as new. And they found that we viewed material at the top of an image as what they called ideal and material below it as real. We'll explore these by applying them to examples in a moment. First of all, think back to our discussion in a previous video about how the English language is written and how that makes us approach what we see and what we read, from top to bottom and from left to right. This reminds us that these ways of reading are culturally specific. If you ever had to develop an advertising campaign for a global audience, you would need to bear in mind that the way you encode your spatial meanings might not be the way your consumers decode them, particularly if their first language is orthographically different. Orthographically just means it has a different writing system to English. We'll come back to this point in a future video, but I thought I'd drop it in just to get you aware of it. For now, let's consider some examples that we could apply Kress and Van Leuven's ideas to as speakers of English. In this advert, Nike have centred both Colin Kaepernick's face and the key text. This affords both significant status. This traditional Gillette ad works on a given and new pattern. It's given that the product does positive things for a man's skin, but it also appears to get him the girl, which is the new. It's maybe important to say here in terms of binary opposites and stereotypes that we, at least traditionally, would far more often see adverts for products that help women to get the guy than ones that help guys to get the woman. So perhaps even in their older ads, Gillette were a wee bit ahead of the curve. The given and new effect of this Dove ad asks us to reassess our binary evaluations. We look at the face of each model and attach our own evaluation to it. Then we move across to the new material, the wording, and are challenged to think differently. Or, if our original evaluation was positive, we have it reinforced. We've already seen that Dove could be accused of mixed messaging in relation to ethnicity. If we apply the given and new pattern to this other Dove advert, the problem arises again. The purpose of the advert is to demonstrate the before and after moisturising effects of the product, but again we start with a black model and we finish with a white one. This may of course be coincidence, but nonetheless we could say that it reinforces binary evaluations and that it contradicts the other Dove advert we've just looked at. The Colin Kaepernick Nike ad can be read in terms of ideal and real as well. The key text is activist and emancipatory, and the goal of having multiple people stand for this is an ideal. Then our eyes move to the tagline below, the Nike swoosh and the tagline "Just Do It." This works on two levels, I think. On one level, it encourages us to put the ideal into action, to have the courage of our convictions, as it were. On another level, it suggests that we can put the ideal into action symbolically by buying Nike products. This Maltesers ad presents an ideal of being angelic and suggests that that can be achieved in reality by eating Maltesers. Yay! This draws on the common gendered ideological evaluation that there is goodness and sinfulness attached to eating different foods. This image from the Gillette Best Men Can Be video ad can be read via the ideal real pattern too, though less obviously than the other ads we've been looking at. We are presented above with an ideal image of childhood innocence and goodness, and the statement "the best men can be" is the real in two ways. Firstly, it's a simple statement that this ideal can be achieved by men in the real world. Secondly, the use of branded colours and font links this potential achievement to the Gillette brand. So in that sense, it works a bit like the Colin Kaepernick Nike ad. I do hope the examples I've analysed here have helped you to grasp and get ready to apply the concepts. Why not have a go now by attempting this task before stopping the video? A top tip to help you is that these patterns are easier to find in still image ads, but they can be found in some video ads too. Happy analysing, and see you in the next video.